St. Petersburg, part two. I was cut off in the middle of recording by some real life stuff. As I was saying, yeah, the attitude I saw in the Russian business world when giving talks at a St. Petersburg Economic Forum satellite event on this last trip. It was, it's probably best summed up by that cliche you see in little signs on the wall in various places, that the serenity prayer, I think it's called, like God grant me the wisdom to work to change the things I can, to gracefully as I can accept the things I can't change, and the wisdom to know the difference, right? I think that's pretty much the perspective I saw. I mean, opinions on the Russian war with Ukraine certainly varied among the Russian people I talked to. Quite a lot were not a big fan of it or of war in general, but these folks had not been consulted. There's not a lot they're going to be able to do about it, and they're just living life and trying to change the world for the better in the ways that they can, which included, pertinently to a lot of the conversations I was having, it included trying to figure out how to use advanced AI to do good for people across various areas of industry, like how to use AI to help teach students better how to use AI to create productive ways for people to contribute in industries that are transforming because of AI. And it's it's the same issues in Russia, it's the same issues in China, it's the same issues really in the more developed segments of the economy in Africa, right? I mean, AI is taking over one after another job more and more rapidly, and we have to deal with this in a way that will both embrace what's happening, which is that AI is going to, before too long, be able to do everything we now do to earn money, and people will have to find other things to do than work for money. But in the meantime, we also have to figure out, how to surf the transition, right? Like how to make money in the interim, how to create value in the interim while helping the ongoing advent of AI, right? And this same issue in Russia as U.S. or anywhere. But the best way to solve these difficult problems and the best way to manage this unprecedented transition is to put our heads together globally, right? And to combine the expertise of people and institutions in all different parts of the world. And it's amazing. Science is global, right? I mean, scientists in mainland China, Russia, anywhere you go, they're publishing in the same journals. They're posting papers on ArcSci. I mean, software developers are posting code in GitHub and GitLab and such from everywhere. And every government allows science and engineering to be global. I mean, you have researchers in Iran, in spite of all the sanctions, publishing in the same international journals as everywhere else. And every government allows science to be global. I mean, partly just because of momentum and because science isn't on the top of the mind of most governments, but also I think because the science advisors of every government leader, the science advisors, they all understand that science is most efficient if it's global. That's how discoveries are going to be made. You have more and more brilliant minds contributing more and more diverse ideas, and if some country was to cut it off from the global flow of science and engineering, I mean, in the end, they would fall behind. They would become stupider. Their science would become worse, right? And that happened in some respects in Russia in the in the Soviet era. I mean, there were some eras where their isolation helped them to advance, but there's an awful lot of eras where they fell behind due to being cut off, right? And the AI, both AI theory and AI engineering, are very much an example of this. Like the way we're going to advance AI most effectively, both in terms of making it smarter and smarter, and in terms of maximizing the odds that AI is beneficial to all of us, right? I mean, the way that we're going to do that best is by bringing together the greatest breadth as well as depth of human expertise and insight that we can. And I saw this super clearly in the meetings I was having with my Russian colleagues on this recent visit, because, and to tie back to my old friend Valentin Turchin, who I was talking about at the beginning of this, as it's happened, two-part video blog on my trip to St. Petersburg. I mean, Val Turchin and I were doing Supercompilation. Well, one of the things that came up in my discussions with my technical colleagues in St. Petersburg on this trip was supercompiling Meta, right? So we have Meta, which is an AGI language of thought, which is at the center of our Hyperon AGI platform, right? And the Meta programs are parts of the atom space weighted type labeled metagraph, and what they do is they help rewrite the metagraph, right? So they're programs written for self-modification of an AGI memory and knowledge base. And we're using it in a lot of different applications now. We're using it for biology hypothesis discovery in the Rejuve Bio project. We're using it inside the Omega Claw agents that we've created and have been having a lot of fun with, which are open claw type agents where you can chat with them, and then as you chat with them, they can understand what they're doing and why, and you can suggest to them ways they can improve themselves, and that their metacode can rewrite itself, to improve itself in the course of your conversation, right? So we have, over a several year period, finally gotten to a meta compiler that's reasonably fast, and that's great. That means our neural symbolic evolutionary AI can enter the world of modern scalable technology like deep neural nets have been for a while, and this is cool. Like, we've never before in the history of our species had the ability to run symbolic AI, evolutionary AI, all these non-neural net AI methods, run them at large scale and high speed. With our current meta language and Hyperon tooling, we can do that, which is quite awesome. But just like your hard drive is never big enough and your chip is never fast enough, I mean, that your meta compiler is never going to be fast enough, right? And so Meta, like Val Turchin's language, refile, back around the time I was born, Meta is beautifully tailor-made for supercompilation. I mean, Meta, it is a language of rewrite rules, rewriting this knowledge graph over and over again, and Meta code is data living in the atom space, in the AI's mind. Supercompilation is about a program that runs rewrite rules to rewrite the program over and over again, right? So, I mean, implementing Meta supercompilation in Meta and then compiling this supercompiler, it's like 1,000% in the spirit of what I used to talk with Val Turchin about, like the refile supercompiler he wrote way back when in refile and then supercompiled, right? So now we're doing all that in Meta, a language. It's much more sophisticated than refile. It's made for probabilistic reasoning, evolutionary learning. It's made to exploit modern multi-core machines, but philosophically it's quite similar to what I was discussing with him way back when in New York, where he'd landed after escaping the Soviet Union and running across the border back in that era. So it was quite poignant, really, to be digging into the math and practicalities of how do you supercompile meta, together with these much younger Russian computer scientists. Because I knew Val Turchin. These guys didn't know Val Turchin. They were quite young when he escaped Soviet Union. They've met the Klimovs, who were Turchin's students, who were in New York for a while and are in Moscow right now. So, but they came out of that lineage, right? Like they even though they hadn't been experts in supercompilation, ideas about partial evaluation, program specialization, roll off the tongue of many of these guys very, very easily, as compared to, say, the average hot shit software developer here in Seattle coming out of the Microsoft or Amazon ecosystem, who knows a lot about how to take scalable neural net models and run them on distributed server farms, right? There's certainly a lot of very important specialized knowledge that U.S. tech hubs are better at than anywhere else. But then I was struck in this recent visit to St. Petersburg. For some things, if you're supercompiling meta supercompilers using meta supercompilers, anyone who's smart and knows code and math and AI could do it in the end, and we will involve some of our Ethiopia team in ICOG Labs, Singularity Net's Ethiopia office, in doing this. Although Ethiopia does not have such a long legacy of AI, their legacy of AI mostly started in 2013 when I co-founded ICOG Labs there, right? But still, even though anyone could do it, I could see anyone with sufficient brilliance and education can do it. I could see the same computer science / AI / optimization mindset and legacy that Val Turchin came out of. I could see that there in the much younger Russian computer scientists I was talking to last week in St. Petersburg, right? And it's made me nostalgic for all the old conversations with Val, right? It really made me wish he was around so I could bring him into these conversations. Although he would be, 95 now or something. But it also really drove home for me the value of intellectual diversity in pushing toward AGI. It's good that we can pull on AGI thinkers and doers from many, many different parts of the planet who come from different intellectual traditions, each of which is a piece of the puzzle. And it left me feeling really grateful that even as geopolitics gets a bit crazy and plenty of bad things happen along with plenty of good things, and literally like bombs falling within earshot and eyeshot of some of our development team's homes. Even as this crap is going on, science and engineering are continuing in an international and cooperative way, because these are not about war and whose country is more powerful. These are not even centrally about the money economy, right? These are about human brains in different places collaborating to understand and discover and bring new knowledge and bring new creative patterns into existence. And to the extent that we can keep the spirit of intellectual sharing and co-creation, of open source code, open science, mathematics for everyone, to the extent we can keep this going globally, even as geopolitics does what it does. I think all this helps us work toward a beneficial singularity. Anyway, I'm Back here in Seattle now. It's was a brief but great trip to St. Petersburg, mostly for meeting with some research colleagues, but getting a flavor of sort of the vibe there was also interesting. Some fantastic Russian food, and always a beautiful city. Now back home and bearing into AGI R&D again after finishing repair on this fucking flat tire. Take a look at this. Just as a bonus for anyone who stayed to the end of this video, my tire exploded on the road the other day. This is the most ridiculous flat tire I've ever seen. I can't even understand how it happened, but it's wild. So well, in the middle of trying to fix this tire, I recorded this blog post, right? So that this was the spare almost put on. So the guy from roadside assistance I called to fix this tire was unable to get the lug nuts off, and I was impressed with my own might. I managed to put the lug wrench on and jump up and down on the fucking thing until the tire came off, but I broke one of the lug nuts with this brute force. So now the roadside assistance guy has gone off to O'Reilly's to get a new lug nut to put on, and then I'll be back home working on the AGI again on this beautiful day in Seattle. And yes, I look forward to having a self-repairing automobile, so we don't have to deal with that shit. But it's probably good for me to get some exercise. Anyway, thanks all for listening to the Singularity and Beyond.